Do you struggle with the top tier grind with today's sponsor, 3GE for War Thunder? You might be able to make it a little bit easier. All you need to do is click the link in the description, download the app, complete some simple task and you'll get some small amounts of golden eagles. Now if you sign up with my promo code EPGEK, not only will you get 10 GE upon signing in, but every GE that you guys earn, I will get as well, that I will be able to give away again in huge batches a few times every year. Welcome back, and today we are playing out the Ki-83 in the Japanese line, and not much has changed since the last time I made a video on this thing, other than of course the Japanese 30mm, because they have been kind of butchered in terms of raw ballistics as well as the damage. Before you ran tracers and they would basically one-shot whatever you would hit. Now you are just going to get a lot of hits if you do manage to hit. I did try every belt, I couldn't get much mileage out of any of them except for the EPGEK belt, the ground belt. It's not fantastic, it gets the job done against props, against jets it does essentially nothing. It's the same thing if you fly the Ki-200. If you shoot jets, the guns do essentially nothing, and it's very frustrating in that regard. And it's especially frustrating because the plane in itself has its own niches. It's very strong in its own regard. The issue is that the playstyle just doesn't really lend itself to Araby as it is. The plane is decently maneuverable for its size. It has an absolutely insane climb rate. You essentially outclimb every prop in the game if it's not something like an A2D. But all the conventional props, you should be above. The Hornet is going to be your main competitor early game. They are going to be somewhat co-eld. They climb about the same. You do outclimb them. But they are just going to be much quicker. And they are especially annoying to deal with at the start, because they can just kind of hose you down in the head-on. And because you are so big, there's a very big chance that you are going to catch a stray and turn into a matchbox. This thing does not like damage whatsoever in true Japanese fashion. Of course, you can play it a little bit more aggressively. The nose authority is good enough, especially in the furballs if you kind of dive in and want to cut everyone up. Just be careful that you don't get trains ran on you, F2Gs, P51s, you know, and the sort. The faster planes that are decently maneuverable, they will absolutely ruin your day, and you don't want them to have you by the balls. You want to hold theirs instead, and you maintain this by keeping your altitude and working top to bottom. The issue is, again, today in the matchmaker, this doesn't really work all that often. The matches go by very quickly. Aggressive playstyles are rewarded unless you're in a squad, but with this plane you just really have to wait for scenarios where you can actually do something, and here is one of them. Spitfire broke off, did a 180, and now he tries to turn back in, so he basically did a free 360-degree turn. It's the start of the game, it's a smaller map, so we essentially have 1.5 kilometers on him, and we are already going a decent amount of speed. So this guy is completely energy trapped, and all he can really do is dive away from me and try to just hope that I break off, because if he dives underneath someone else, I basically have to disengage. Take the first shot here, we are compressing a little bit, nose authority isn't that fantastic, get one hit, underlead the rest, don't have the pull here to actually go in, but we do have the speed to simply go out, and all we really need to do at this point is get some distance. Once we have enough distance and we are sure that his guns aren't going to reach us, we can start going a little bit more vertical. Be careful that you don't go straight up after overshooting, because you will essentially stall like 900 meters away from them, and if they have decent aim or if they just spray and get lucky, there's a chance that they will simply just kill you. I'm trying to open up the gap, I'm trying to get a decent amount of distance between us. If he tries to pitch up now, he will probably run out of energy at about 0.9, and he is completely stalled out. So we just go up once more, and because he committed a little bit too long, we get the freest kill in the world, after the guns of course do 0 damage. Then we have another game here. We are against some Spitfires at high altitude. It's 2 LF Mark 9s, and I can tell by the fact that they are premium, they're in a squad. So I'm gonna assume that the one next to him is also going to be the LF Mark 9, looking at his altitude. They're right next to each other, so they probably are both. So I'm gonna treat it as one. If it's a Griffin, a little bit of a different story. They have more power up here, but they also don't turn as well and stall a little bit earlier, which is good for us. So kind of pitch on over, can't really engage the first one because there's a second one right next to him. So at this point I'm just kind of trying to stall them both out and then see who takes the wrong approach and wants to get put into the video. So we go up a little bit more, now we have the separation, they don't have the engine power up here, but I do want to be careful because if I overcommit, they will get like 0.4 on my 6 and then I'm not really going to be able to basically do anything that will essentially ruin my game if they don't just outright kill me because I'm going to be very close and I don't get enough separation quick enough. So I noticed the other Spitfire is taking a bit of a horizontal approach. He's not really gaining any position, and because of my position, I'm able to just kind of pitch on down and take his wing off. He is crit, he is dead, and then we pitch in into the other Spitfire, and just as I said, if I overcommit, I'm going to have a little bit of an issue. Yes, I'm going 600, but he's diving into us. There's a second one pitching up into us as well, and luckily I have the separation and the speed here to actually get away. But at this point, it's going to take forever for me to get away from here. But we have a teammate coming in. My game is essentially done at this point unless we kill the Spitfire. But that's going to take us another 3 to 4 minutes, even though we have a teammate coming in. And then this fight right here. And it's important that we watch the first fight here. It's an F4U who has like 5,000 kills in the F4U 4B. Yes, it's nerfed. It's not as good as higher speed, but neither are we. So we try to pitch up in. As I said, defensively this thing isn't fantastic. He hits our empennage, which luckily doesn't kill us outright. And here I'm trying to play for position. I'm not entirely sure how this guy is going to play it. Normally the F4U4Bs play it quite aggressively, and I felt like I could get a shot right here. I get a shot, he dodges it, and because he dodges it, I'm now not able to get a shot on him again. And that's essentially going to be my main ability to kill him. We just don't have the lead. I don't have the 30 mils. If I had the 30 mils there, I probably would have killed him, because they have a little bit more velocity downrange. But unfortunately, we are not able to kill him. Now, he is going to pitch up into us, and I'm going to try again to play for position. The FU4B at low speed has a monster engine, and if he keeps his up, he will eventually just win and out-energy me. And he goes for the A6M. I'm still not able to cut in. I'm overusing the flaps a little bit here, but that's because I already kind of played my cards at the start. I got myself in a position where I really am just clawing for any bit of position here in order to kill him, because I've already essentially killed myself, and I can keep this up for a bit. And I'm just trying to make sure that I keep my position somewhat. I have teammates coming in. I can't really break off, because if I do, he kills me. And we're somewhat equal for now, so I can delay this a little bit. But I am overusing my flaps here. I'm playing completely full position, and this is a losing fight. Do not get me wrong. The way that I'm playing this is only because I messed it up at the start, because I missed my shots. I went all in, and now I have to pay the price. So I'm going to use my low speed power to kind of like get above him, try to make him overshoot. But he turns better than us, and he has very good power at low speed too. So my main gimmick doesn't really work against this guy, and I'm overusing the flaps yet again. I'm trying to stall and get like an angle. I'm not really going for the long game here. I'm trying to finish it as quickly as possible, hope that he kind of overspeeds, and because of that I end up getting a shot. But we turn it into these straight vertical loops, and these, if you do like 2 or 3 of these, I simply die. You can see that he's gaining incredible position here, but it does open me up for a counter attack. He notices it, and he dives away. Also because I have teammates coming in, but that was what I was playing for. Hoping that he makes a mistake, but he instantly corrects the mistake and dives back to the runway. He repairs, he lands, I do the same thing. And now I'm on the clock. We have a Junker 188 in front of us, and the FU is back for more blood. And this time I know roughly how he's going to be playing it, so I'm going to be playing it a little bit differently. First off, set up a harder angle for him to shoot. Pitch in, go knife edge, make my profile smaller, go up over his nose. I'm not going for the shot as hard as the first time. He's playing it a little bit slower as well, but because of that, I instantly back myself a pretty decent position. Missed the first angle, didn't lead enough, didn't position my nose well enough. And this time, because we are a little bit more equal, I don't have to use my flaps nearly as much. Because if you have watched my flap video, you know that in the long term, they completely grief you. But it's very important that when you are losing the dogfight, that you use them properly. So again, here, I'm going to use the flaps a little bit to cut the radius, give ourselves a little bit of a boost. And then I have the feeling that he's going to go down. And now, because of that, I'm going to cut throttle, drop the landing flaps, and I'm just cashing in that speed to get position quickly. And I managed to force scissors. And because I'm slower and I'm already behind him, I have a very good position here. I might miss the first shot, but because I'm on his 6 and he's a bit faster, I'm in a pretty sweet spot to turn here. I don't need to complete the entire turn because I only need to get my guns on him. I managed to get a shot and take him down. Overall, that first fight, if that had gone uninterrupted, I 100% would have died because I cashed in a little bit too much at the start and missed my shot. You learn from your mistake, and then you play it a little bit differently, and you can tell that it turned out completely differently as well. And then we have the Junker 188. And I have like 10 seconds left on the clock. I will open the scoreboard in a second here. But I'm just trying to run this guy down as quick as I can. I won't care about the gunner. It's only, I think it's a 7 or like a 13 mil. So it doesn't really matter here. I just need to make sure that this guy doesn't survive for much longer. Because even when I kill him, it's still going to take a bit for the tickets to actually go down. You can see in the top left there, it's like 10 seconds. He makes the biggest mistake of his entire War Thunder career. And he loses because he turns in. All he had to do was just fly straight. Tickets start ticking down. Only 15 seconds left. And only at this point I have more tickets. So I won that one with about 5 seconds to spare. I'm not even sure if... Yeah, the tickets didn't even go down all the way. I still think that matches should be longer, but I'd rather lose to the timer than lose to ticket bleed. So overall, that game was pretty interesting. The first part of it was not the older, that's why you didn't see the other 3 kills, but that's besides the point. Then we have another game here, and it's a little bit more what you want to have every match. Unfortunately, it never really happened. So we kill the first F-82 here after I miss all my shots. Set him on fire, severe. I don't trust the F-82 that's on fire, so I just take another few rounds at him and make sure that he goes back to the hangar, because very often they either put it out or they just kind of limp back to base and land. I don't want that. I hate that thing in this plane, because they can kind of just spray at you, and if one of those M3s hits you, you're probably going to be on fire. 109 pitching up for us, but we have a lot of speed, and we have the room here, so I can be quite aggressive. So I'm pitching up over his nose. I'm still going 320-ish, drop the flaps, cash it in, and we are just going to kind of pull straight into this guy. And he's going up. He's probably going for my teammate. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing. Halfway through, he realizes what I'm doing. Luckily, my aim is on point and I'm locked the fuck in. So we take his wing off and he also goes back to the hangar. Now, at altitude, there is no one. And I'm really just frantically looking around to make sure that there actually is no one. But I don't want to wait too long. Yes, there might be a guy in orbit. Yes, there might be a guy side climbing. But I'm not going to wait for that guy because he might not even exist. So in this case, we just kind of dive to the deck. We aren't going to wait too long. Dive on the F8F. We take his wing off. We crit him. He is going to crash. I get a little bit greedy. And the main reason I'm showing you this is to show you just how quickly we get up back to altitude. Right now we have about 29 minutes of fuel, and you know that with weapons, of course, you're gonna burn through it quicker. And with 4 minutes of fuel, we are back at 6 kilometers, which is absolutely insane. When it comes to the vertical, this thing has so many options, and you can just disengage for like a minute or two, and you're gonna be back at 4 to 5 kilometers, which is the insane performance metric of this vehicle. But they need to give you room, because if they are catching you, if they're faster than you, you're gonna have a bit of an issue. At super high altitudes, you're not gonna be super quick either. So actually dogfighting people is a bit sketch, because they can just kind of pitch in and spray you down, because the plane is so massive. Luckily, when it comes to something like a Tu-2 in orbit, you just kind of pitch in, you take a burst, you notice you're overleading completely, and then the second burst hits him completely and sends him back to the hangar, just like that. Late game, bombers in orbit, those are your cup of tea. Just be careful that you don't get hit by a stray 50 cal that sends you back to the hangar, because this thing is again made out of wet tissue paper, and the wetness is because of gasoline. It really just is a flying matchbox. Be careful about being hit. It doesn't like anything. Start of the game, I ignore bombers altogether. I don't want to go anywhere near a B-29. I don't want to go anywhere near a B-17, the PB-4Y, or anything for that matter with turrets. Because most of my deaths in this thing are from turrets. They hit you once, you are on fire, and your match is essentially over. And I try to avoid that. Now for the last game here, it's basically just kind of a cleanup, but I do want to talk about this thing versus the Hornet a bit more. And I said it early on in this video where I like the Hornet, and on paper I should like the Ki-83 more, because it's a little bit more nimble, it's better at that low speed climb rate, so you are able to like stall people out and, you know, use your energy to outturn people, because that's my favorite thing to do. But in practice, the Hornet is just always going to be faster, and because of that, it's much easier to actually play that playstyle, especially the medium to high altitude, where being faster means that you actually have some airflow over your wings, makes you a little bit more nimble, harder to hit, and overall just less niche. This thing is like good in certain positions, but it's almost 0 positions where I'd rather be in this thing other than the Hornet. Unless there's of course something like dogfighting the FU-4B. But those things don't happen that often, and most of the people that you dogfight aren't that good at it anyway. I make mistakes while dogfighting as well quite often. It's not my thing, especially now I'm not playing as actively as I used to. So something like the Hornet, where you can kind of just come in with like 200, 300 km/h speed difference, just go vertical and still have those monster engines, still have good retention, still have decent mobility for its size, and you know, the Hispanos are just much easier to aim, much more ammo, like realistically, and just overall it's just much more consistent. So I would say fly the Hornet instead. It's a fantastic plane. It's one of my favorites to actually dogfight with, believe it or not. Of course you'll not win everything, but you know, just having speed and power, and then go vertical where you see that the enemy like is outturning you, but because you have so much more energy, you're just able to kind of work your way onto that 6. That's my absolute favorite thing to do, and I thought that I would like this plane a bit more, but it's just because it's so niche, you barely ever get scenarios where you get to use that playstyle, which is, I think, a bit of a shame. And the 30 mils being nerfed into the ground definitely isn't, you know, it's not what I like. If you fly something like the J7W, you know just as well as I do how painful that thing is to play right now. It used to be all about the guns at 6.0, the airframe is absolutely dog shit, and now they nerfed the guns on top of that, and it's essentially just completely worthless. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to cool your engines, because I forgot to mention that this thing has thermonuclear bombs for engines and really likes to overheat. Try to use mech, switch gear at like 4500, and you'll see me in the next one.